This week on Clip Service, we are going to get into a bunch of different things. We're going to cover what's going on with the Lakers, what is going on with some of the other teams that are looking like they might be contenders, whether we think that they are legit or not. We're going to do a little trade deadline discussion with the trade deadline coming up on February 8th. And then we're going to cover the three games that the Clippers pulled out the win in. Uh, Still, I think it's a 5-game winning streak now. We ended one streak to begin another, which is great. We have the Lakers coming up today as we're recording this on Sunday. We play the Lakers at 6:30 p.m. and then we're going to cover the remaining games for next week. So it'll be the Suns, the Raptors, Memphis Grizzlies, and the Timberwolves. So a lot to talk about. Let's not skip any time and get right into it. So without further ado, let's make it happen.
What's up, Clipper Nation? And welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram now at Clip Service Pod. It's all reliable today. I'm Rola, and this is my co-host, Nick. And let's get right into it, Nick. Take it away, baby.
All right. So hopefully everybody's having a great week. Rolla, how was your week?
It was
Let's just
good,
start
man. It
with
was
it.
good. Enjoying the new year 2024. The fireworks and everything. The whole week has been pretty good. Good way to start off the year. How about you?
Awesome. It's been great. It's been even better. The Clippers are undefeated in the new year. Kawhi
Hmm.
Leonard's back and healthy. Mason Plumlee is back. We can kind of get into it later, but he went to Ty Lue and said that he was okay coming off the bench behind Daniel Tice just to not mess with the flow of anything, which has been great.
Hmm.
But it is nice to have him healthy. Obviously, offers a bit of size. He's a little taller than Daniel Tice, gives us some depth. Everybody's back except I think Musa Diabate broke his hand. He's the only one that's technically on the injury report. But we got a healthy squad. We're winning games and a lot to be happy about so far in 2024. So before we get into any of that stuff, kind of wanted to jump into our what's going on segment. I think to start that off, let's talk a little bit about the team across the hall.
Yeah, man. So I kind of wanted to start off on a new, I guess, segment type or sub segment
Ooh, okay, let's get it.
called Contenders or Pretenders.
I like it.
Where we're gonna name off a couple of these teams. Like Nick said, we're gonna start off with the Lakers. Uh, Nick, what are you thinking about the Lakers? Contenders or pretenders? They're looking
Um, I,
pretty weak right now, but
yeah, I mean, it's hard to approach this particular one without any sense of bias because we know how I feel about that team.
uh,
But honestly, I think that still early enough in the season for them to turn it around. They do have LeBron James. He's still playing at an elite level, even at 39 years old. That's nothing to scoff about. Anthony Davis, when he's engaged and healthy, is one of the best players in the league, particularly on the defensive end. So they still have a chance. I think as of right now, just considering their standings in the NBA, I think they're 12th in the West or something like that. They're just outside of the play-in contention, or not the play-in tournament contention. So I think as of right now, I think I would consider them pretenders in
whoa.
this instance, just because that's gonna be a pretty tough hill to climb. There's a lot of teams that are overachieving
Hmm.
in the West this season, and I think the West, the Denver Nuggets are still the team to beat, but I think that the West is kind of up for grabs. Same thing with the East. I think that the NBA overall, it's a pretty even slate right now. But the trade deadline's coming up. The Lakers uh, have been pretty good about making big swings right before the deadline to change up their team composition. I think that they can make a big trade, something that can really shake things up. I just don't think that their depth works great together. I think that there's a lot of pieces that don't necessarily mesh. Um, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I don't believe that they're shooting a great clip from behind the arc this season. And when you have, a team that's centered around LeBron James, I think you want to try and surround him with as many shooters as possible.
Right.
Um, I also think that their chemistry is a little shot right now. You saw it the other night where LeBron James in his the last couple games actually, LeBron James looked really defeated in
And
his
Anthony
post game
Davis.
interviews, and Anthony Davis. But when LeBron is your vocal leader, and he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He's the such a domineering presence. When he's tilted, it permeates throughout the rest of the team. So there was that interviewer that asked LeBron James about Ricky Rubio retiring,
Shout out Ricky
and
Rubio, bro.
shout out Ricky Rubio. Has had a fantastic
He's a
NBA
great player.
career. Great player out of Spain. And I think the reporter that had asked LeBron that was a Spanish reporter or an international reporter, and so it's a big deal. Ricky Rubio is retiring. He's one of the better players to come out of there. And LeBron met the question with, I think he said, "I'm not in the mood to answer that," and I get that, and
Yeah.
and everything like that. But
It's just bad timing, I think.
it was bad timing. I understood why the question was asked,
Hmm.
but yeah, I get it. But yeah, basically, long story short, I think that if the Lakers can both turn around their chemistry issues, which might be harder to do than their actual team composition in general, if they could turn that around and then kind of maybe trade away some of the trim some of the fat around their roster and get pieces that make sense. Gabe Vincent, I think he underwent some surgery or surgical process, so he's going to be out for a little while. Maybe try and see if you can get him off the books. I don't know. But I think that they have to. Some work has to be done for them to be contenders, and I think that they're pretty far away from that right now.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think to answer the question, I think they're contenders. I think
Wow. Okay.
today's team, I think that they are pretenders, but I think at the end of the day, these guys know how to play playoff basketball. We've seen LeBron be in that position countless times. I think around this time last year, their team was pretty trash, and this basically the same team went to the Western Conference Finals. So to say that they are pretenders, I don't think is very fair to someone like LeBron or even Anthony Davis, because I mean he has a championship.
But look at their
But
record, bro.
yeah, no, I understand that. It's just, I mean, they were in the play-in last year. Like, think about that. They were in the play-in and they went to the Western Conference Finals. So I'm
But
just
you
saying
th-
that they know what it takes to get to the end, and I just think that not a lot of teams that are above them have that same experience. And I think that we'll see that again in the playoffs, unless they face off like a Nuggets or even us early on in the playoffs. But if they're playing against a team like OKC first round or a team like the Timberwolves first, second round, I'm picking the Lakers because they just know how to. Even with this exact same roster, I just think that that experience is something you can't replicate, and those younger teams don't really have it. Um, but that's really all I got to say about that. I'm not really paying too much attention to the Lakers just because our team is kind of the beast in LA right now, and we're really the only team that matters currently in Los Angeles. But hey, good luck to the Lakers. Hopefully they don't see us in the playoffs because I think it'll be a depressing. What? How long is around? Like a week and a half. Probably depressing week and a half, 2 week period for a Lakers fan.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know how that would work because I don't know. I think that unless the Lakers do a complete 180, I don't know if they're going to finish any higher than like a 4 seed or a 5 seed. I think that at this point, that they're going to try and shoot for the play in or maybe an eighth seed. So if unless we get up to the like a 1 or 2 seed, which I think is
It's very
possible,
possible.
then I don't know if we'll see them in the first round. But that's neither here nor there. One other team
Okay.
that I actually wanted to introduce now that we're on this segment, a team that has overachieved uh, immensely, the OKC Thunder. I think that piggybacking off what Connor said in last week's episode, Shea is playing at an MVP level.
Yeah.
He really is. I don't know if he's going to get it. I think that the MVP voting process, there's a little bit of politics in that, in the sense that there's always kind of a narrative, and usually it's going to be a guy that's been in the league for a lot longer, and it's typically the same 5 or 6 people. But
But I
I
think
think that
Giannis
shit.
won it around the same age, didn't he?
What's that?
I think Giannis won MVP around the same age as
Yeah,
Shea.
yeah, that's true. That's true, but I think there was more of a narrative behind Giannis that year than there was with Shea. I think Shea, it's been more of like, oh, what a surprise, he's playing at this, elite level. Whereas Giannis, it was like he's becoming the face of the league kind of thing. I don't know. I mean,
Right.
it's
No, I
certainly
get you.
possible. It's certainly possible. I think that he's making a case for it. What do you think about the OKC Thunder? Are we thinking contenders, or I hate that it's contenders or pretenders, because just because you're not a contender, it's hard for me to call, like,
No,
I
I
don't.
think I, I think those two options are correct because I think that this team is
If
a
you're not first, you're last.
exactly
Ricky Bobby.
contend to. Okay, I guess let's start off with this. What's your definition of a contender?
A team that's contending for an NBA championship.
So if a team is capable of getting to the second round, would you consider them a contender or pretender?
It depends. It
So for I
depends.
guess for me, it's a, a, a contender would be a team that is capable of winning the championship. And I think that consists of. I think it was extended to 6 players. Um, this past this past I guess this past season year, and I think that was Jokic that extended it. Because I think that the only 6 players that are capable of winning a championship or leading a team to a championship are LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Jokic. And I guess the sixth could be Kawhi. Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, Kawhi's done it in the past, so I would. It wouldn't make sense for me not to include him in a top 6 players, and those are to me are the only 6 players that I can consider superstars. They're the only 6 players that can win a championship, and so the only teams to me that are legit contenders are the
Teams with those
teams that
players.
those players play on, which are the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Bucks, and the Nuggets.
So you're
And so
saying the OKC Thunder are pretenders at this point?
exactly. So I think they're a fantastic team. I think
Damn,
they can
that's
get to
cut
the
and
second.
dry, dude. That's
I
cut
think
and dry.
no, but I think for real they can get max to the Western Conference Finals, and I think they're gonna face one of those teams that I mentioned, and they're gonna lose. If they face the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, you're trying to tell me they're not they're that you think that they can beat the Nuggets in a 7 game series?
It's tough. It's because I was thinking about this. I was trying to rationalize this whole thing over the course of the last like couple of weeks. Is like, every time I try to say it to myself, they're too young. Shea is, he's playing at an elite level, but he's kind of up and coming. He hasn't had much of a playoff presence at all. I think the one year that he made the playoffs was when Chris Paul kind of put the team on his back, and I think they made the first round. In that one year that he was there, or whatever it was. And so part of me is like, naturally going to discount them because of that fact. But I don't know, man. Everything on their team makes sense. Their
You were
coach,
saying
Mike
that about the
Daigneault.
Kings last year, though. Two
About
years in a
who?
row. You were saying that about the Kings. It's literally the exact same type of thing.
Yeah, I think the Kings. It was an unfortunate situation because they played Golden State in the first round, right?
But that's what I'm saying. That all of these teams are gonna face a championship level team with a championship level player, and I don't think that they can beat those guys.
I think that honest. Yeah, I mean, The playoffs obviously is multiple rounds. I think if
Mhm.
OKC stays second and they end up facing off against a team like maybe the Pelicans or something like that, I think they can get a win in the first round.
No, of
As
course,
as the rounds go by, I think if they run into a team with more experience, yeah,
but they will.
I would,
That's the thing,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. No, that's a fair
And
point. That's a fair point. I just think that their team composition makes sense. Chet's my pick for rookie of the year.
mhm,
Jalen Williams is a do it all. You know, there's not really anything that he does poorly.
right,
Josh Giddey, when he's staying out of trouble, which we'll not get into, it's awful, awful vibe. But you know, when aside from that, you know, he's a great floor general. You know, they have guys like Isaiah Joe and who else do they have coming up? Oh, Lou Dort, obviously. They have guys that just kind of step in and fill
they're
a
a great team.
role. And what's that?
They're a great team. I think that if you define contender as a team that can get deep into the playoffs, I would put them as a contender because I think they're a great team. They play hard and they're led by former Clipper legend Shea Gilgeous.
Shea Gilgis.
So,
Yep. Shouts out.
um,
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
right now I would have them. I would personally have them as a contender, but I don't necessarily think that's a surefire thing. I just really like what I've seen from them. They're a tough team to beat. They just beat us. Granted, we didn't have Kawhi, but you know they looked incredible, and they're continuing to play at an incredible level. We'll see. I mean, also they got to stay healthy. Shea has been known to
yeah.
get hurt, and Chet, you know, his body type is you know kind of prone to going through injury. But yeah, as of right now, I have them as a contender, but that remains to be seen. We will monitor that
Okay,
as
I
the
got a
season goes by.
I got one more toasty contender pretender
Let's hear it.
question. What about the Phoenix Suns?
Pretenders, frauds,
Pretenders,
pretenders,
fraudulent.
frauds. Yeah, 100%.
Whoa. Why?
I just number one, and this is not any fault of theirs, but number one, they can't seem to stay healthy. They've jettisoned like all of their depth and assets to build this big three that has only played like I think 5 games, 4 games together, if that.
Hmm.
I think that on paper it kind of makes sense. You know, you have Devin Booker slotting into a facilitator role, have Bradley Beal be your spot up shooter, and then have Kevin Durant be your go-to bucket getter. And all those guys can you know, shoot lights out behind
Lights
the
out.
arc. Like they're all 3 level scorers. But I think that their issue is the same issue that they had last year. It just a different flavor. Where I
Hmm.
think that their depth they lack depth. Obviously, they have more pieces this year than they had last year. I think last year they just
Right.
didn't have the personnel to provide any depth. This year they have a bunch of buyout guys. You know, they I don't even know if Darius Baisley is on that team, but guys like that, Baisley, Grayson Allen, Keita Bates Diop, Eric Gordon, they have pieces and personnel to provide depth, but I don't think any of it makes sense next to the guys that they have.
Hmm.
Um, they don't really have any defensive presence. You know, Josh Okogie's a good, you know, serviceable defender. You know, Drew Eubanks is a pretty decent defender around the rim.
Good dunker.
They
Yeah.
have a couple pieces, but I just don't think that the depth makes any sense, and they can't stay healthy. And personally, I think that Devin Booker is kind of a little bit too big for his britches right now. I sound like a hater, which I kind of am. I'm not a huge fan of Devin Booker, but I think that
No,
Devin
we hate
Booker.
him, dude.
I think that
Paul George
I
hates him, so we hate
yeah,
him.
which we will get into in the Suns recap. But I just think that he's reached a level of front running with nothing to really back it up that
Hmm.
I kind of have a hard time believing that he can lead a team to a championship at this juncture. Obviously they have Kevin Durant, but there's also reports that Kevin Durant is growing frustrated with his role
Yeah.
with the Suns, and they're kind of going through a similar situation to the Lakers, where you know they have pieces to compete, they have all-time great players, but there's a chemistry issue, a glaring chemistry issue. It's obvious, and then I just don't think the team composition works. So I'm having them as pretenders right now.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. I would have them as pretenders. They're if they were able to get their act together, no, I would still have them as pretenders just because they don't have a player that does the little things. I feel like
And they're not having
um,
fun, dude. They're not having fun out there. Like you
they
look at
don't seem like
teams,
they're having fun. They don't have a player that is like I can't really explain. They don't have a Terrence Mann type. They don't have for the Bucks that type of player is I would say
Bobby
Giannis
Portis or something.
or yeah or Bobby P. I think Giannis like is one of those guys too that does the little things on defense. He's gonna put his life on the line to to get the stop.
Yeah,
Um, and I just feel like, well, and I would say even the Nuggets, I would say Jokic does the little things too, especially on offense.
yeah,
He does he makes sure that they get the win. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Um, but yeah, the Suns, there's just something off about them. They have fantastic pieces. They have Kevin Durant, who's an all time player. They have Devin Booker, who's a fantastic player, but we can get into this later, but I just feel like Devin Booker doesn't really. He it almost feels like he collapses in big games. He almost I feel like gets lost. He's supposed to be their leader, but I feel like in those really big games, he kind of shows up very small. It doesn't seem like he is able to communicate well with his teammates. I don't know if you guys saw in that I don't know what game it was, but one of his teammates turned the ball over and he was like yelling at them he was saying like you're gonna lose the ball and not come back on defense type. And I
yeah,
get it, they're professional players. They can I mean they can handle like tough love, but I don't know. It just seems like he's not a leader type of player.
yeah.
Um,
And
but
when he's playing against somebody that's on their bully shit, apparently
bro,
he has a tendency to flounder a little bit. So we'll get into
bro,
that
for
in
real.
the Suns recap. One last thing I wanted to talk about in what's going on is we have the trade deadline coming up on February 8th. Um, which teams, if you want to just give me a couple, Rolla, which teams do you think are buyers? Which teams do you think are sellers? And then do you think the Clippers should make a trade on the margins? The teams I'm loving the team that we have.
Hmm.
I think that we're playing at a great level. Everybody seems to love playing with each other.
I
Um,
think I think our team is perfect, dude. I
yeah,
think our team is perfect. Um, I think like you said, I think the Lakers would benefit from a trade. Their role players do not seem to be up to par. Um, obviously you have LeBron and AD that can't be touched, but I would say basically anyone else can on that team should be on the trading block. Um, I don't. I'm not really sure. I feel like as of late, I just haven't really been focused on any team outside of the Clippers as much.
yeah,
Just because I don't know. I think the Clippers are perfect right now. I think this team that we have, obviously barring injury, is a perfect team. It doesn't really get better than this. We have four MVP level type players on our team, um, and they are all playing like it. So it's kind of hard to say that we need anything else or need anything more. We all our role players are playing very well, and that's really it. I mean, like we said last episode, for me, this is kind of like the last hurrah. Um, I think that this is the perfect team, and if this doesn't work out, then I feel like the project is a
got to shake
failure
it up a
type.
little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, the
no,
project is a failure.
I kind of agree with you. I do think that if the right trade is made, and it could be, like I said, a trade on the margins. We have guys like PJ Tucker that aren't really playing. Mason Plumlee at this juncture is not going to be playing many minutes. If we can maybe make a trade to get like some defensive 3-and-D wing,
Hmm.
I wouldn't hate that, but I wouldn't want anything to shake up the team to the point where it's like there's a figure it out period. So yeah, I'm okay with us standing pat. I've heard that Jonathan Kaminga, that the Warriors are at odds with Jonathan Kaminga. I've heard people on Twitter say that the Clippers should go after someone like that. I don't know if we have the assets to try and get that done without
No,
shaking up the
we
team too
don't.
much, but um, yeah, we'll see. I think as far as teams, uh, our producer just said PJ and Plum for Pat Bev, get him back. Honestly, fuck it. Let's get Pat Bev back. Let's re-sign Blake Griffin and let's get the
Bro,
whole squad back together. Um, No, but yeah, I think that if it's a trade on the margins that doesn't shake up the team as much, bring in a guy that can play 10, 15 minutes off the bench at the four position, maybe, share some minutes with Amir Coffey and Kobe Brown,
Mhm.
I wouldn't hate that. But I think as far as teams that are other teams in the league that are buyers and sellers, I'm looking at the Bulls to shake things up completely.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We've heard a lot about that. I think that the Detroit Pistons need to make a move. I would honestly not be shocked if they go ahead and get somebody like Zach Levine, or somebody that could just be a go-to bucket getter for them, because they need buckets in the worst way possible. I think they have their facilitation covered with Cade, and they have a monster rebounder in Duran. I think they just need to get somebody that can shoot beyond the arc, because Bojan Bogdanovic is great, but I don't think he's a part of their future plans, and he's not that level of a guy to where he can comfortably give you 30 a night. Um, I think those are the biggest sellers. The Lakers, I think, need to make something happen sooner rather than later if they want to salvage this team or this season. Um, I think those are the biggest buyers. Like teams like the Lakers, trying to add some assets. Don't know what's going on with the Washington Wizards. I think that they need to make something happen. Obviously, the Poole Kuzma experiment isn't working right now.
Bro,
I've heard that
Poole has been
Kuzma could be on the
playing
trading block.
incredible.
Yeah, the lack of seriousness from that team is incredible. So I think there's a lot. Personally, I think that this trade deadline is going to be jam packed. There's a lot of teams that are, because, like I said earlier, the both conferences I think are kind of up for grabs. And I
Hmm.
think that honestly, with what the Clippers did when they made a big trade to get James Harden, a lot of people hated on it. It looked like it was the wrong move to a lot of people or whatever, but we've been playing like one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league right now in this last stretch of 20, 25 games. And I think that sets an example. If you want to compete, sometimes a big shake it up move is all you need. And sometimes there's some time to get it figured out, but we're a much better team for it. Zoo's playing better. A lot of the guys that play off ball are playing better because of James Harden.
Hmm.
And, it sucks to see Nico Batum and Rocco and all those guys, KJ Martin, Marcus Morris, I guess, see them go, but getting James Harden was a no brainer, and we're
Yeah.
a better team for it. So I think that kind of thing sets the example for a lot of teams in the league that are looking to improve. So I can see a lot of things happening before the deadline. What those are is what we will find out in the next month or so. So looking forward to that. We are going to hop right into recaps right after this. All right, we are back, and we are going to get into the recap of the three games that we had this last week, and then we'll have kind of like a pseudo recap preview with the Lakers game that is later today. It's going to be a big game. Obviously, if things go the way they normally do, we should be able to take a win, but this Lakers team is going to be desperate. We'll get into that shortly. But the first game that I want to touch on is the Clippers Heat game, where the Clippers pulled out the win 121-104. Um, this was a great game, one of the better games of the season. Obviously, the Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler,
Hmm.
but they had guys that are playing well. Bam Adebayo is playing some of the best basketball of his career. Jaime Jaquez is looking like he could compete for Rookie of the Year. Tyler Hero is shooting the ball at like a ridiculous level. He's playing incredibly. They're getting good stuff from Kevin Love and Duncan Robinson, guys like that. But the Clippers managed to pull out this win in a demonstrative fashion behind Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Paul George ended the game with 23 points, 3 for 8 from the 3-point line. Um, Gave us 2 assists and 3 rebounds, was a plus 14. And then Kawhi Leonard, 24, led the team in scoring 24 points, plus 24 on the plus minus. Gave us 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. Was 10 for 19 from the field, super efficient as he has been recently.
Hmm.
Rola, what did you like the most about this game aside from the fact that we pulled out the win in, you know, pretty reasonable fashion?
Yeah, so I was expecting for us to win this. Honestly, I was a little concerned at halftime, but I was expecting us to completely destroy this team, especially without Jimmy buckets. But I feel like a broken record. But I just can't say enough about
Let's break
James
that record,
Harden.
baby. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about James Harden. He's really been so much for us, and I think he's been the key to us winning all these games. 15, 15, 10, and 4, and
Yeah.
he plus 26 plus minus. I mean, I can't remember the last time he's had less than like a plus 20 plus. Um, but overall, good game. Expected win. Everyone played well. Norman Powell, 22 points off the bench, plus
Yeah, Norm has been
13.
incredible.
He's been such a good six man for our team. 33 minutes. And I feel like a lot of people have been saying this, but with him in the lineup, I guess instead of Terrence Mann, this team has been basically unstoppable.
Well, I'm
Um,
glad. I'm glad. Real quick, sorry. I'm glad that you touched
mhm.
on that because I saw a graphic about a week ago that gave, I think it was the top 10 or 15 five-man units in the league in
Okay.
terms of plus minus and points and everything like that. And not only was the Clippers' current starting lineup of George, Leonard, Zubats, Harden, and Mann on there, but the second lineup that we usually feature with George, Leonard, Zubats, Harden, and Norm was on there as well. And we were the only team to have two different units as a part of that,
Oh, interesting.
best five-man units in the league. So,
I mean,
like you
they put
said,
us in
having go
they
ahead.
they put us in a top five power rank. I think that was ESPN. Put us in the top five power ranking. I think it was the first time we've been in the top five power ranking this season.
Yeah.
Just because I think our team. Well, I think I said this a couple episodes ago. I think our team is the best team in the league. Um,
With the way that we're playing, I can't argue with that.
there's no other team that on paper and on the court looks even close to as good as we are when we're fully healthy. Um, we have too many tough shot makers on our team. To where if one player, if Kawhi isn't playing as well, then James Harden is going to take those shots. If James Harden isn't hitting his shots, Paul George is going to take those shots. And there will never be a case where all three of them are all bricking. I mean, there might be one out of 50 games, but I haven't seen it yet outside of that losing streak we had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
It's a pretty unstoppable team. And against a team like this, the shorthanded team, I think their injury report was super. They had a ton of players on that injury report, so it's just like we have no excuse to lose a game like this. This is the stat line I was expecting. Um, very balanced amongst all of our stars. Norm Powell 22, Terrence Mann 12 points, James
That
Harden
was great to
15.
see. Terrence Mann
So
cracking double digits.
yeah,
We'll get into this more too, but Terrence has looked a lot better in this
yeah,
last stretch. He's been shooting the ball a lot better. It's not a ton of shots, but he got up 7 shots and made 5 of them this
mhm,
game. Ended the game with 12 points. I've loved what I've seen from him. Um, and also one thing that I wanted to say is PG ended up breaking JJ's record for 3-point shots made for the Clippers. So he is now second all time in Clipper history as far as 3-point shots made. I think that he's going to pretty comfortably pass the next player, which is Eric Piatkowski, the Polish rifle, was with the team for I think like 10 seasons or something like that. Definitely kind of a maverick for the Clippers in an era where we weren't winning a lot of games. Piatkowski was taking a ton of threes during
mhm.
an era where guys weren't taking a ton of threes. Shouts out Eric Piatkowski, but I think PJ is or not PJ. PG is
PG.
coming for that record. I think I could absolutely see PG when his Clippers career is all said and done, him being the franchise leader in 3-point shots made. Also, shouts out to JJ Redick. I think that also that's kind of just a testament to how new, and relatively speaking, how new this team is, right? Like, we really we don't have much of a history because we were such a laughing stock for so long, and we were in San Diego, and then before that we were in Buffalo. So there's a lot of moving parts with this team, and the fact that PG, in his, relatively speaking, in his short time with the Clippers, I think it's been 4 seasons, 5 seasons. He's managed to cement himself as the second leading 3-point shot maker in franchise history. So shouts out to
Mhm.
PG. Um, had a great game this game, but yeah, overall, a great game, and glad we escaped that one with the win. Um, the Heat came out swinging early on, but we managed to do what we've been doing really well during the stretch, and that's put teams away early and handle business in the fourth. So That was a great game, and I think that brings us to the next game, which was my favorite of the three. The Pelicans game was great, but just based off of the animosity between these two teams, we ended up beating the Phoenix Suns 131-122. This thing got really interesting down the stretch. The Suns went on a massive run to cut the lead
Yeah.
into single digits. Made it interesting. I was kind of sweating a little bit, but we ended up pulling out the win. Put 131 on them, and we shut Devin Booker down, shut him up. And PG was on his bully shit. Ended up
Yeah.
finishing the game as the Clippers' leading scorer. I think the leading scorer for the game as well with 33. Had 5 threes, was 12 for 14 from the free throw line. Gave us 7 assists. Had a couple steals. PG looked great
7
in
boards.
this one. And what did I say?
You said assists.
Oh yeah, 7 boards,
Yeah.
7 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals. But this was my favorite game of the three simply because PG stood on business, as the kids
Mhm.
say. And I think that that's important because PG, every once in a while we'll see PG kind of shy away from the moment, and he fully embraced all of the history that he has with Devin Booker. Those two, from everything that I've seen, don't really care much for each other. And PG set the tone big time. And, it got to the point where he was looking like he was calling for switches to try and get Devin Booker on him. Devin Booker didn't really have an answer. PG went to the line 14 times. They kind of had to foul him to try and stop him. And PG showed up big time in this one with 33 points. What else did you like from this one, Rolla?
Yeah, man, I loved what I saw from Paul George. But one thing about and I didn't want to get too into this in I guess the contenders pretender segment. But one thing about Devin Booker and I guess this Suns team, but I'll say this mainly about Devin Booker, and I don't mean this in a well, I guess I do mean this in a bad
You
way,
mean this in a disrespectful way? Come on
but
now.
Devin Booker is a fucking loser, bro. He no,
I don't
I'm gonna
mean
be
this in
real.
a disrespectful
No,
way, but Devin
no,
Booker's a fucking loser.
he is because because one thing about him is the beef with Paul George started. I don't know if well, I'm sure you know this. Paul
I know
George, I think,
everything.
talked about it in a. I'm not sure when he talked about it. He talked about it in a random podcast a couple of years ago. But Devin Booker just randomly started talking shit to Paul George,
Oh yeah,
like
no, that was.
in a whim, on a whim. Yeah, like on like just randomly one game, he just started talking shit, and I think um, this was the year after the, I guess, quote unquote collapse, um, from the bubble. Um, and Paul George randomly said, you know, um, some of these players just feel like they can just talk to me about this, that, or the third. Devin Booker was one of them in that game. I don't know if you remember that game,
I
but
do.
Devin Booker and Paul George started to really get into it, and it was just random. Devin Booker just thought he could talk shit, I guess. Um, it just wasn't, well, at least for me, it's Devin Booker talks shit, and then when it comes down to it, he loses, and that's what I mean by he's a loser.
I mean, you saw it with
Um,
Luca. Like
exactly.
Luca commented and said, it's easy to talk when you're up.
Hmm.
And Luca went into Phoenix in a game 7 and put the
And
Phoenix Suns
torched
out of
him.
the game in the first quarter.
Torched him. Same
Yeah.
thing with. I mean, he didn't really talk as much shit against the Nuggets, but it's the same thing um with that series. And then you see, like if the Clippers and the Suns play in a healthy 7 game series, I'm sorry, I just don't think that the Suns could beat us in any. I think 100 times out of 100 times the Clippers win that series because
It would
I
have to
don't
be
think
healthy, but
Devin
yeah, I
Booker has
agree.
it in him. He's
I
gonna
agree.
talk shit, and that's the thing about like competitors is like everyone in the NBA is competitive, right? If you're gonna talk shit, that's gonna make me play better, right? You're talking
Also,
shit to me,
don't talk
okay? Let
shit.
me play
Also, don't talk
better.
shit when you're up like so much.
But
Like
that's
don't
the
be a
thing
front
is
runner.
that's the thing is talk shit, but back it up, and that's what he
Right.
doesn't back it up. He might put up 35 points, this, that, and the third, but they're empty stats. Did your team win at the end of the day? Did you play defense? Did you get the steals? Did you do the little things to make your team win? No. And that's why he loses all the time.
Yeah.
But,
He's a great player.
I
We
think he
shit
has the
on
wrong
Devin Booker.
mentality.
He has a what?
I think he has the wrong mentality to have. I think that's why he'll never be a superstar.
Yeah, I think that he's got the talent, and I think that there's a fine line where to have that edge, that mental edge, to be able to talk that smack, to be able to kind of like intimidate opponents. Like I think it's a good thing to have, but I think that you can get carried away to the point where you put a target on your back, and if you can't handle the pressure when teams are gunning for you because you're trying to set that tone and be a villain and stuff like that, then what's it? Then what is it even for? You have to be able to, like you said, bottom line, you have to be able to back it up, and at least in this one, he didn't. And
You know who's another
you know,
player like him? Joel Embiid. Same vibe, I'm thinking. Exact same
it's
vibe.
different. It's different. I don't think Joel Embiid takes himself
I
as
think Embiid's a
seriously as
loser,
Devin Booker.
bro.
I think
Well, I
that
think
I
I
think
think Embiid is joke. I think he's joking half the time, but I also think he's a loser in the same way that Devin Booker's a loser.
can't back it up or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
I look at that a little bit differently with Embiid because I think that Embiid is like he's fully embraced the troll like status,
yeah, but he's gonna
and
collapse.
he does it even when he knows he's wrong. Whereas I think Devin Booker, he's like wearing shades in post game interviews, and he's pulling up to the games in like Oldsmobile, like I don't know. He's just like he's trying
Where he's
too
corny,
hard.
bro.
He's trying too hard, and he ends up just being corny. I think that we probably shout on Devin Booker enough for this part of the segment, so I think that we move on with the final statement of this was a great win. We handled business. Paul George looked fantastic. Just to touch a little bit on. Actually, never mind. Mike, go ahead. Go ahead and move us to the next. Go ahead and move us to the next segment. So yeah, the next game that we wanted to touch on was another great one. We ended up beating the Pelicans 111-95 in New Orleans, and finally took a win against a team that's had our number. This is the first win against the Pelicans since 2020.
Jesus.
So this was awesome. I think that they won 11 straight against us or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, this game was awesome. It's the game started out with the same way that it kind of always does with the Pelicans. Their guys end up scoring on us in bunches. Brandon Ingram is that guy, particularly when he plays against us. He's so good at getting to his spots and hitting tough shots against us. The game started out kind of sketch. We ended up cutting up even to end the first quarter, 26 apiece. And then the second quarter is when we really
Mhm.
poured it on the Pelicans, and they kind of weren't able to recover from that point. So the leading scorer for the Clippers was Paul George with 24. Kawhi Leonard chipped in with 19. Zoo had a great game with 15 points, 8 rebounds. He looked really good. Had a pretty nasty poster on JV. Um, James Harden chipped in with 13 assists, 8 points. Terrence Mann 2 for 3 from three. Obviously, he didn't take a ton of threes, but he hit two of them. Finished the game with 8 points. I like where his shots kind of trending. And then Norman Powell, per usual, chipping in off
Plus
the bench with 13
36.
points, plus 36 on the plus minus. Um, this was great, and we put the Pelicans away early. Their leading scorer was Jonas Valanciunas. Jonas Valanciunas with 13 points, and that was it. So uh, hold on one sec. We're having some technical. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we kind of put the Pelicans away early, and after the second quarter, it was kind of smooth sailing from there. What did you like from this one, Rolla?
I didn't really get to see too much of this game. I just saw the first quarter that ended 26-26. It looked like we basically blew them out in the second quarter before half. Um, Overall, I think this was a pretty balanced game from all of our players. I don't think we necessarily needed anyone to go off. Obviously, showing us showing the score. But it looks like this was more of a defensive game. Um, Not many people went crazy with. with I guess not many people were taking too many shots on the Pelicans. Usually Brandon Ingram torches us, and he only put up 9 field goals. Zion Williams only put up 9 field goals. So I think overall this was just a good balanced game from a team that wanted to focus on defense and wanted to beat a New Orleans Pelicans team that had beaten us every single time since, when did you say, 2020?
Since
So
2020 was the last time that we beat the Pelicans.
yeah, just a good win. Clippers been rolling. I think we've won what? I think we've won 12 out of our last 15, or was it?
I believe it.
Um,
It's something like that.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, this was a game that we really needed to win just from the aspect of, we're trying to show the rest of the league, and we've done a good job up to this point, but we're trying to show the rest of the league that we can go toe to toe with the teams that give us trouble, go toe to toe with the best
yeah,
teams in the league. And this was a team, or is a team, that really does give us trouble, as you can see by the record of the last 3 years. And so if we want to be serious about being contenders, we got to handle business in games like this, and we really did, um, in the best way. So yeah, I think that there's not really much else to say in this one, other than I think the defensive intensity was there in full force. We weren't letting guys like Jonas Valanciunas, who I've seen stats about it, and it pisses me off to no degree. Jonas Valanciunas shoots like 40 something percent from the 3 point arc against us. And then every single team in the league, he shoots like an average of like 22%, 23% on like one or two attempts a game.
yeah,
So they have the guys that just love getting up to play against us. Brandon Ingram, Zion, Valanciunas, guys that hit big shots against us, like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. Jose Alvarado does his thing against us a lot of the time. But we kind of put an end to that this game, and I think it started with our defensive intensity. We were aggressive on getting over screens. Zoo was great walling off the paint. It was we didn't let them get their bearings, and it showed in the final box score. So this game was incredible, just from the standpoint of we were able to really solidify our seriousness by ending the horrible losing streak against this team. So this one was great. We ended up escaping with the win, and yeah. Anything else you want to say about that one, Ro?
no, no, I'm good. Good overall win.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the final game of this week, which has actually yet to happen. The game against the Lakers is going to be at 6:30 today. I think that this is one that we have to kind of go in with some caution. The Lakers, as we said before, they're playing really, really poorly. We obviously know what the Lakers are capable of when they're playing well, and this is nowhere near any of that. They're really struggling, both from an output on the court standpoint, just to a all the way to the chemistry issue. They don't look like they're having fun out there. The post game interviews are a tough watch. So I think that, with all of that being said, we're going to be playing a team that, most of the games lately that we've played against the Lakers have been really, really good, exciting games, pretty close. And
Mhm.
we're going to play a team that wants to beat us, obviously, and play a team that's desperate. We're playing a team that has been struggling, and so they're going to want to take this one. What is the key to winning this one, Rolla, you think?
I think the key is going to be um, shut out the role players. I think that's what other teams have been doing well. I mean, LeBron and Anthony Davis, you can only do so much, right? I think they've been averaging over this. I guess their losing streak the past week or two. Um, LeBron and AD have been playing, I guess, well statistically. They've been getting their numbers, but I think the role players have been letting the team down, and I think that's why they've been losing. So I think if we continue that same defensive strategy of let let LeBron and AD do what they do, and kind of just take everyone else out of the game, I think this should be an easy win from the Clippers. I mean, we know how to beat the Lakers. I don't really have. I'm not really too worried about this game. Obviously, they're going to come out hungry because they've been losing so much recently. But I just think that our team has been on a winning streak. I think that we've been the best team in the league over the past like month, I would say. Um, and I think that we have no business losing to a team like the Lakers right now,
Yeah.
just because I don't think they're anywhere near us. I think we know how to beat them. We always come out with that aggression because we know what the Lakers mean to LA, and we want to be that. We want to have our own stadium. We want to have our own banners. We want to have our own championships. And so we always come out against the Lakers hard. I just don't really see us losing this game tonight. Personally, how about you?
Yeah, no, I think that we need to handle business. I think this is a great opportunity to kind of set the tone in the city of LA. I'm not saying that we're ever going to be the favorites in LA. I've always been against that narrative that the Clippers run LA. We never have and we never will.
Yeah,
But I think that that's kind of the beauty of being a Clipper fan too. It's like there's room for another team in LA, and right now we're the better team. One thing that I wanted to touch on before we move on to the other previews is the injury report per Michael Sanford, our producer, per Dan Woike of the Los Angeles Times. Um, the Lakers are going to be without Rui Hachimura and D'Angelo Russell. So, like you said, we got to watch out for their role players. Those are two that we're not going to have to worry about.
yeah,
And then Anthony Davis is a day-to-day, probably listed as questionable. Actually, no, he's listed as probable.
yes,
So
yep,
if Anthony Davis plays, we got to make sure that we keep him off the glass. Anthony Davis is a force in the paint. Sometimes he doesn't go to his spots in the paint as much as he should, and I think that's my biggest knock on him. But if he can get offensive rebounds and get position in the dunker spot or even in mid range for a turnaround J, he's deadly there. So
mm,
got to make sure we keep AD off the glass. If Christian Wood gets any playing time, got to make sure that we watch him from the 3-point line. Don't let him get any offensive rebounds. And then as far as LeBron goes, try and get him to facilitate more than you get him to try and get a full head of steam and get into the paint because he's automatic once he gets into that dunker spot or gets into the paint, especially on the fast break.
yeah,
So yeah, just kind of make sure that you. I think this team needs to make sure that they focus on the margins. Keep the Lakers off the glass. Don't let them get into the paint. Try and force them to shoot threes because they haven't been shooting great and they don't have a lot of 3-point shooting personnel. So I think if we handle those aspects of the game, I think we can come out victorious as we have been over the course of the last couple years. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what we need to watch out for the Lakers. And that brings us to the next slate of games. We're going to kind of bust through these pretty quickly, but we're going to be playing the Phoenix Suns again
yep. On
on
Monday,
Monday. And that's going to be, I believe, at home. I think we're playing at home. The Suns are going to be without Nasir Little. I believe Bull is out at least today, so I think that he might be out again. And then I'm not sure what Kevin Durant's status is. I know that he's not playing today against the Grizzlies, so we'll see if he plays on Monday against us. If that's the case, then I think it's just more of the same that we saw against them last game. It's just try and make Devin Booker uncomfortable. I think give the ball to our bigger wings like Paul George and Kawhi. They don't really have the size. That was the biggest thing for me, or one of the biggest things for me in the game that we played against them last time was the Suns just don't have the size to be able to hang with our bigger scorers like Paul
right?
and Kawhi and so I think that if we use our size to our advantage, I think it's more of the same, particularly if they're without Kevin Durant. What do you think that we should look for in this one, Rola? If you have anything else?
I don't really have too much else. It's going to be a back to back. I think this game tonight is going to be a tough one. And then the Phoenix, we just beat the Suns yesterday, or I guess on Wednesday. So I
Yeah.
think they're going to come out hard, hungry. So I think we're gonna. It'll be a tough one. It'll be a tough 2 games. These are 2 of our bigger rivals. So it's just is what it is. I think if we come out with the same game plan we had in the last game against the Phoenix Suns, I think we can win a close game. But I think we may see some tired legs out there tomorrow.
Yeah, we could. That's part of the reason why I think that we need to try and handle business tonight
Yeah,
against the Lakers. Try and put them away in the first half, and then give a lot of the minutes. If we're up big, I'd say throw Bones, throw Coffee, Terrence, Kobe Brown. Give those guys some playing time. Obviously, Musa Diabate is out with a fractured hand, but if we can put this game away early in the first half, let's give our stars some rest. We have the depth to be able to play some guys minutes to just hold down the fort for the second half if we come out to a big lead. So it is a back to back, and I agree with you, Rolla. We might see some tired legs if this game against the Lakers tonight is a close one, but hopefully it's not, and hopefully we can get our stars
Mhm.
some rest going into a game against the Phoenix Suns, who are gonna want to beat us pretty bad. So. Um, After that, we have the Toronto Raptors on, I believe, Wednesday. Um,
Yeah.
I think that one's going to be at home as well. The Toronto Raptors just made that trade to get RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly. I haven't checked their record as of late, but I think that they're a tough team. They play tough. They play hard. They have a lot of length, and I think they added some length with RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly, particularly in the perimeter. I think RJ Barrett, he's got some good length and he can defend a little bit. So I think that you just got to make sure that you put a team away. It's kind of more of the same. You got to put a team away that you should beat. And I think the Toronto Raptors, particularly because they're figuring out how to incorporate the guys that they received in the trade, incorporate
Hmm.
them into the team, got to set the tone. And make sure that you don't turn the ball over. Live ball turnovers that the Toronto Raptors have a tendency to feast off of, particularly guys like Scotty Barnes who love getting out in transition. Scotty Barnes is a better shooter than he was in years past, but I think that his bread and butter is getting out in transition, making plays, and then finishing at the rim. So keep those guys out of transition by limiting turnovers, and I think we'll be in good shape. I think that the Raptors have a pretty clean injury report. Gary Trent is, I think, questionable. Has been questionable the last couple games. He's ended up playing some of them, so he can get going from behind the arc. So not seeing him would be a bonus, but I think this is a team that we can beat in the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I really don't have much to add. Scotty Barnes has been playing out of his mind this season, so I would say watch him. Try to defensive plan should be to I guess minimize his effect on the court. And then they have a couple new guys from that trade, so I guess try to keep them from progressing and building that chemistry with that team against us.
Totally. And then up next we have the Memphis Grizzlies. I think we play them on Friday.
Yep.
So I think the thing that we need to remember about the Memphis Grizzlies is Ja's back. He's been playing pretty well since he's been back. But one thing that I loved when we played them last was we forced Ja into taking 3-point shots, kept him out of the paint. He's such a force in the paint, and when he gets a full head of steam, he can finish over everybody. So um, he's also listed as questionable today against the Suns with right shoulder soreness. We'll see if he plays. He has a lot of time between now and then to get right, but I think if he does play, it's more the same that we saw against them. Keep the Grizzlies out of the paint. Desmond Bane can shoot lights out, but if he's the only one taking and making threes, then we'll live with that. This is kind
Yeah.
of another team that we can beat even when they have Ja. And then I think lastly is the game that I think is going to be the hardest this week, and that is the number one seed in the West, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have a pretty clean injury report. I think the only player that they're missing is Jalen Clark, who, no offense, but I haven't really done my research on Jalen Clark. So I think aside from him, they have a clean injury report,
Hmm.
and they are playing incredible basketball, particularly on the defensive end. They are 22nd in points per game, so not a great offensive team, but Anthony Edwards alone is a one-man wrecking crew when he's hitting. And they're the number one team on the defensive end, I believe, and a big part of that is Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels,
Jaden McDaniels.
um, two incredible defenders in their starting lineup. They have guys that can guard. Kyle Anderson is no slouch. Naz Reid can defend a lot better than people give him credit for. Karl Anthony Towns, he can be a defensive guy in the paint. So I think that the biggest thing against this team is, take smart shots. This team is a great defensive team. So keep swinging the ball and take advantage of open shots when you have them, and don't try and force up anything because
Right.
they're going to make you work for every bucket. So I think the easier buckets we can get, the better. Um, Rudy Gobert alone can cover so much ground in the paint. So I don't think we're going to be getting a ton of shots, clean shots at the rim, but we have the guys to be able to get those mid-range jumpers, and we have the facilitator in James Harden to be able to find open shooters. Norman Powell shooting lights out from behind the arc. If we can try and get some plays to get him open, get Paul George open, I think we'll be great, in great shape. And then the biggest thing for me against this team is, like I said, they're 22nd in points per game, so they're not a great offensive team. Don't let these guys get into transition. Don't let them get easy shots, and particularly keep them off the glass because they have a tendency to crash the glass hard and make teams pay off those offensive rebounds. They have the Twin Towers thing going on where Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, they have so much height in their front court that they can be a force on the glass. And if they get those second chance points, they're going to make you pay every single time. So keep them off the glass. Don't let them get in transition. And then conversely, I think you just we gotta be able to try and take good shots. This is going to be a big test for us. This has been the best team in the West from a record standpoint for most of the season.
Yeah.
So if we want to take ourselves seriously as contenders, these are the games that we got to win. I think that if there's any game that we lose in that stretch, it's probably going to be this game. But I think, I said that against the Pelicans last week on last week's episode, and we ended up pulling out that one in a big way. So I think that, bottom line, to wrap everything up, I think that we can beat any team in the league with the way that we're playing right now.
I agree.
And I think that games like the Timberwolves game, and games like the game that we had against the Pelicans, and games where it's teams that play us hard, that beat us more times than not, that have a good record. These are the games that we got to get up for. And I think if we end up taking this win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think that just solidifies how good this team has been playing. They're playing like the best team in the league in my eyes. So I think that we got to continue that against the Timberwolves. What do you think the record's going to be in this next 4 games, Rolla?
Uh, are we including the Lakers? No.
No, 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 no.
Um,
We're going to win that game. So
I think that these are going to be a lot of games this week, ending with a really tough one. Um, I think we go 2-2 this week.
okay, two
How
and
about
two. So
you?
you think the Timberwolves, and who else are we losing to? Phoenix, maybe.
Yeah, I think we're going to lose to the Phoenix.
I think we
I
go
think
three
that.
and one. I think we go 3-1, and I think that we end up beating the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that we take.
Oh,
I think that we have a shoddy game against John Morant and the Grizzlies, and they end up beating us in Memphis.
okay.
That is my prediction. The week after this next one is going to be a short week. We have a game against the OKC Thunder on Tuesday, and then a game against the Brooklyn Nets on Sunday, and that's it for that week. So we'll cover that on next week's episode. But I think that if we handle business this week, we will be rewarded with an easier. And I say easier because there really isn't any easy games anymore in the NBA. There's so much talent, but if we can handle business and escape with hopefully maybe a 3-1 record. 4-0 would be great, but we'll see. If we can handle business this week, we'll be rewarded with a softer schedule in the following week. So something I would love to see. I think the biggest thing that I'm looking for, and it's kind of flying a little bit under the radar, is Terrence Mann has been playing a lot better. I think that if he can take advantage of getting those open shots that he's been getting and taking a little bit more, I think that elevates us so much. He gets some of the cleanest looks on the team. And for a while, he wasn't even taking them. It's been kind of different as of recent. So I think if he can keep punishing teams and at least averaging maybe 10 points, 11 points, 12 points a game, that would be great. So you know how big of Terrence Mann fans we are here on the pod.
Oh
So that
yeah.
would be awesome for us to see. Rolla, what are you looking for the most, if anything?
Um, I agree. I would say Terrence Mann. Overall, the team has been playing amazing. There's nothing really more I can add. Um, just keep playing the way we've been playing. I don't think that any team really has a chance against us. Obviously, fatigue is gonna take a toll. So it just is what it is. As long as we play the way we've been playing, I don't think that we get any of those kind of dumb losses that we were taking earlier in the season.
I agree. Well, I think that does it for us here at the Clip Service Pod. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this
Thank you,
fine
guys.
Sunday or Monday, whenever you listen to this. Hopefully, the Clippers can solidify a win against the Lakers tonight. We're going to be watching that closely, just because these games against the Lakers are typically a ton of
Intense.
fun, and it's Sunday, so I'll be cozy and watching this game. Um, Hopefully, the Clippers can get some keep stringing together some solid wins, and we have a lot of positive to report for you guys next week. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts. You can find us on YouTube. Get at us on Twitter at Clip Service Pod. We just created an Instagram, so get at us there. Give us a follow, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys think of the pod. Let us know what you guys think that we can improve on. We want to take all that feedback, and we appreciate it so much. So thanks for tuning in, and
Thank
until
you,
next
guys.
week, guys, go Clips.
Go Clips.